I got right here with me Detroit's most dangerous man, as you can see. Looks pretty dangerous. He has been through the ringer. He's another OG. He's been around, ran around in the Motor City of Detroit, through the state of Michigan. He's got multiple robberies, tied into the mob, did a lot of things. Basically, he's been exposed to that lifestyle his whole entire life. The man decided that one day he had just had enough. He decided he wanted to go on a different path. He changed his life around, got out in 2017 after doing 13 years in the Department of Corrections. Just like me, he's also a published author. He has 2 books that are out there called To Be a King. You can also find him on gunnerdetroit.com. That's his website. He's been on Costa Nostra and all kinds of other websites. He's out there. He's been around. You've probably seen him on Josh's Lockdown 23-1. This is a very exciting collab right here at Prison Break Raw. And without further ado, we want to welcome Gunner Lindbloom to the scene. What's cracking, Gunner?
Hey, how you doing, man? I just thanks for having me. Just wanted to tell you that I'm normally, I don't really watch a lot of shows like, prison shows. Sorry, I'm super thirsty right now. I usually don't. I just came from the gym. So, but your show, I caught some of it. I think it was recommended, and I watch Josh's show sometimes. I try to, right. But I mean, most of the prison shows and things, I'm just like, I'm just so busy. We have so much going on. But your show caught my attention simply because I got sucked into listening to one of your shows, and I'm like, well, this guy's pretty damn smart. He's very articulate. He's well versed, very knowledgeable, very professional. So it wasn't like, to me, like another bootleg show. I'm like, I could listen to this guy because he's smart and he's intelligent. I'm the kind of guy who respects and values intelligence. To give you an idea, my wife, super brilliant woman who's an executive level employee she just was at MIT for the last couple of years. Now she's working for a Wall Street company. But just to give you an idea, I am like-minded. So I just want to say well done on your show, and that's why I said I'd be willing to do this guy's show. Normally I don't do a ton of them, but anyways, so if anyone doesn't know me, I mean, you got my story pretty much right, but really I grew up in an Italian organized crime family. A lot of people know it as the Mafia. I had an interesting childhood, and interesting my 20s. Which made it interesting is that, if you've ever seen the movie Goodfellas, and the main character Henry Hill, who wasn't a pure Sicilian guy. His name was Henry Hill. And however, he came up with these other guys, these mob guys, who were tied in with a capo, who really wasn't even that high level of a capo. Well, in my case, the boss of the whole Detroit mob was Jack Tocco, who was my grandfather's first cousin. And my mother's last name was Grace Tocco. I'm a Tocco half-breed blood. So in a lot of senses, like the Goodfellas thing, I'm similar in that regard because I had access to these higher level mob guys, even much higher than Henry Hill had access to. And I had that similar lifestyle coming up when I was a kid. I got pulled in. My uncles, I kind of looked up to them. They had the money and the girls and the cars, and I looked up to them. So my uncle, who's only 12 years older than me, was like a brother. He kind of mentored me and brought me into this world, La Cosa Nostra. And he kind of taught me the rules of La Cosa Nostra. And he taught me how to keep, the family business very, very secret. And this is what we do. It's our thing. Literally, La Cosa Nostra means our thing. And so I kind of came up in that environment. And as I got older, my grandfather, his eyes started to go bad. I have bad eyes too, by the way. I'm light sensitive. That's why I wear glasses at night. But
yeah, me too.
He started
too, so you're in good company.
So he started like dangerously driving. Basically, he would blow red lights. He would bounce off of cars in the parking lot and stuff. So I finally said, I was living with him at the time. Yeah, I know it was crazy. And I got busted for selling steroids when I was like 17 years old. And I had to went to jail for a few months. My grandpa freaking literally bribed the judge $10,000 and got me out of the 2 hand-to-hand deliveries. I ended up with 6 months in county jail work release. but I had kicked off work release for some black dude reached over the table and grabbed my cookie off my tray, thinking I was some kind of punk ass bitch. And I dove over the table and freaking smashed him in the mouth, started beating his ass, and they kicked me out of work release, so I had to serve 6 months in the county jail. When I got out, I went and lived with my grandparents, and that's about the time his eyes were going. And he'd take me everywhere to meet his cronies, and a lot of things one thing you might not know about the Sicilian mob, they're very chatty, very social people. The old men have to talk to each other every day. They're either on the phone, they go to each other's headquarters, they hang out, they play penny pokers, they drink vino, they're just always together. So my grandpa would go to these places and he'd bring me on these ride-alongs with them. And I got to know kind of the who's who of the mob, and he's connected to all these really high-level mob guys that normally a kid like me would never have access to ever, and would never even know nothing about nothing. It's just impossible. But because I had kind of royal blood, because I was a Toco, and my grandpa was very revered by these old men like Tony Giacalone and Jack Tocco and Paul Corrado and all these big timers. So basically what happened is I drive my grandpa to these places every day. We'd make these rounds, and my grandpa was a huge layover bookie. I don't know if you know what a layover bookie is, but he's the guy who would balance the books of like 40 different bookies at a time. And so he would take all the off bets. And if your book, your goal is to get like 10,000 with the spread, 10,000 without the spread, doesn't matter who wins, the loser plays the winner, and you collect 10% juice. Problem is, if you're all of a sudden you're 8,000 over and then 12,000 this way, you're 4,000 out of whack. So if somebody wins over here, you're out 4,000. So you push it over to a layover book. And that's what my grandpa did. And he always had like 3-4 different phones going in the living room. And but he balanced it with Vegas. Vegas takes all bets, so you can take everything. And so it's kind of what he did. And I learned that business like that. And of course, my Uncle Pete, his son, which is my mother's brother, was introduced to me to all these different various crimes and rackets and scams and hustles. And it was weird because it was a double life. I had a lot of my friends in high school. None of them knew about any of this. I kind of left them after high school. I was introduced to it while I was in high school. Never really talked about it or shared it with anyone other than maybe 2 of my close friends. And then after high school, I kind of just said goodbye to everyone and went on my way. And I'd pop in here and there. Hey, how you doing? Maybe smoke a joint, hang out a little bit. Go to the club once in a while. But wasn't involved in that life. And I just got pulled farther and farther into this crazy, life, which wasn't crazy to me then, but now in hindsight, I look back and I think it's insane. You're this world of La Cosa Nostra and these rules and anyways, I was, a bad dude. And at some point, I was trained to never gamble. And you never gamble. I mean, my Uncle Nicky taught me how to play penny poker when I was like 7 years old. And we played a game with a bunch of my cousins, and he gave us pennies, and we played, cut every pot, and one winner, and blah, blah, blah. And then Anthony won all the money. And he's like, so who's the big winner? And we're all like, Anthony. And he's like, nah, I'm the big winner. I didn't play one hand, but I got freaking 200 pennies in front of me. He's like, so I never risked nothing. He's like, never bet against the house. You house, you be the house. And they taught me like 3 dice, which is a whole nother scam hustle where if you house 3 dice, you'll win every time. And so anyways, I eventually started going to Vegas just to kind of party with my friends. And then I developed the pain pill habit. So I was popping pain pills, and this was the demise of a lot of wise guys. This is the demise of a lot of wise, not a ton of them in Detroit, but like New York and other places where a guy, I broke my ankle, and I was trying to play football. That's a whole nother story. Usually I don't even talk about it because nobody believes it. They think I'm full of shit every time I say it, so I don't bother. But
you're in good company. A lot of people think I'm full of shit most of the time too, so you're in good company.
Yeah, it's not even worth dealing with trolls and haters. But when I was on the run living in New York, I played semi-pro football, and I played under an alias name because I was ducking a federal indictment back in Detroit that was under investigation. Eventually, I beat the indictment that got dismissed, or they unsealed it and let it go. It's a long story. The main witness recanted and said I had nothing to do with it because it took a couple of years to convince them that. But anyway, so when I was in New York, I was playing football, and I was like really good. Semi-pro football, won 2 championships in that league. And I had some scouts, and I was potentially going to have a tryout for the Detroit Lions, and broke my ankle. And then, I was so depressed because of the loss of my dream, breaking my ankle. I was so close. And then plus the pills. So I give me a bunch of pills for this. I eating these pills. Now, this is in my late 20s, 26, 27 years old. you know, and then I start eating more pills and more pills. And I'm in the street making a lot of freaking money, man. A couple $100 grand a year. I mean, not a ton of money, but more than some, less than others. And I had a beautiful house. I had a fiance. I had 2 houses. I had all brand new cars and jet skis and snow. Nobody knew. Everybody who knew me, like say from high school and stuff, thought I was just kind of, nobody even knew. That's the thing. I think nobody even asked me, like, how do you got that nice house? How do you got these nice cars? No, they didn't, you know, like, whatever. That's because nobody really knew except my girlfriend. She knew I was up to something, and I just would never tell her. I would just tell her I'm hustling, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But anyways, the pill habit developed and got worse. And then on top of it, I started going to Las Vegas. I have a friend who owned this big company, like $30 million company, right? Brian Elias owns Hanson's Windows. And he would take, first time I went to Vegas was with him. He's a high roller. He flies his whole company, takes me and his boys down there, $200,000 weekend in Vegas. And like, I gamble like a dummy, and I go play blackjack, and I win. I like $14,000, man. And it's like, so now imagine how I feel. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And I'm here winning in Vegas. You know, the girls fun. It was just great. So I'm like, me and my boy, I'm like, let's go to Vegas. You know, now I'm starting to lose though. So I'm going back to Vegas, and I'm losing. Now my habit is getting worse and worse. I'm losing a bunch of money. I have to maintain this facade, this beautiful house I got, and the cars and the toys and the jet skis and all that. It's a very expensive lifestyle. So I started doing things that were bad. You know, I robbing dope dealers, robbing pimps, robbing banks, things like that. And it started getting back to my Uncle Pete. And he called me in and sit me down. It's like, listen, I hear you doing this. You know, I heard you and Johnny shot some dope dealer and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, I've got to eat. He's like, listen, I'm not sanctioning that, basically. He's like, I'm not green lighting that type of shit, man. Listen, these dope dealers, the dope dealer that Johnny shot, that guy was paying protection money to one up some other guy. And I'm just like, hey, whatever. He's like, yeah, well, it got back to him. So he's like, now you got a problem with that guy too. He's like, I can't help you. If this is the type of shit that you're going to do, I can't help you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was basically rogue and renegade at that time. By the time I got to, you know, before I went to prison, I was just like, F you, all you mother effers. And I had some exchanges with some pretty high level mob dudes who were kind of old school, sit me down, say, Alonzo, listen, what are you doing, man? You can't do this, man. One of them was like, Alonzo, you can't beat everybody, because I was famous in the neighborhood in the east side and these nightclubs for freaking knocking guys out and beating their ass. You know, I was known well for that. And so I mean, they called me Sandman. So and he said, you can't beat everybody. Yeah. That's what they call me. And they said, one of these days, somebody gonna come with one of these. And I said, listen, Tony, if somebody comes with one of these, they better be a good shot, because I got guns too, and I'm a real good shot. You know what I'm going to do after I get them? I'm going to come for the guy who sent them. And I said it, and this is a room full of high-level mob bosses. One of them is the underboss of the whole family. Another one is the street boss of the family. So, I mean, these guys are, you know, they kind of looked at me like, well, and I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it was like, yo, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about some scumbag who thinks he's going to come get me because I freaking shook him down or did this or that or knocked some guy out. But it came across bad. And so these guys were like, this freaking Alonzo, he's pretty out there, man. He's, you know, he's a renegade, you know. And the thing is, because I'm only half Sicilian, I never looked at myself as a potential recruit for full induction in the Mafia. So I was just like my own guy. I did what I did. I didn't have to pay tribute and kick up to my uncle. Or if I hit a big score, I had to pay my uncle. Or sometimes I had to pay money that was used to pay off cops for certain things. Money for the lawyers. If you get busted, you got to pay that money. You know, there's judges. There's a lot of things you're always paying. But in the end, I wasn't going to be, you know, a made dude in the mob. So I never really took it serious. I didn't even care. I'm just like, yo, I'm out here trying to feed myself, put money in my pocket, food in my mouth, make a living, and live a nice life. You know, I had a bunch of toys, and I still go fishing and hunting and travel. But anyways, I was going downhill so fast at the end, running out of money. And then again, it got to the point where I was just doing, I mean, I'm ashamed to admit it. When I think about it, you know, like my wife, she hears shows like this. She's like, my God, you know, I can't believe that was you, because of who I am today. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I was out there robbing and stealing and taking and being bad, bro. You know, I robbed a lot of pimps. I didn't like pimps, so I had no problem hurting them.
Yeah, I don't like pimps either,
them.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't. That anyone who preys on women like that is just a problem. I got an opportunity to rob a pimp, man. It was really easy money, so I started doing it almost like a sport. And then
Straight
we rob a
freaking
lot of
cowards,
dope
Mo.
dealers.
Most of them are straight cowards. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
So and then dope dealers too. I was getting a lot of dope deals, like black dope dealers would come into strip clubs on 8 Mile. And they'd floss a bunch of money trying to impress the white girls or whatever. And of course, the white girls are working for us, so they call me and be like, "Listen, I got one in here, man. He's got at least 10 grand on him, big gold chain. Just told me he drives an Escalade, blah blah blah." So I call my cousin Frankie or another cousin of mine, and we would go, follow him after the club. And wherever they went, we'd get them. Sometimes they pull in the driveway, we'd jump out with shotguns and masks, zip tie them, take the money, stuff. Johnny shot a couple of them, and that's how I started getting in trouble. But anyways, I mean, there was times where we robbed at least 5 different times. They walked into a Coney Island restaurant, which is basically just like where everybody goes at night after the clubs close and stuff. And they would walk in there, and the place, there's 30 freaking people in there. We would have masks on and shotguns and walk in there just like, and we wouldn't say nothing to nobody. We just go right up to dopers. Get on the freaking floor, up the floor, get down. He'd zip tie them, get the money, get the jewelry, get out, boom. 30 seconds, we're gone. And $10,000 lick, And
Did you ever take their teeth?
No.
You never took their
Never
teeth?
did that.
No, we took their
No,
teeth
but I
a
got their
couple of
rings,
times.
their watches. That's funny. That's funny. No, I got everything else though. And then one time, like we went to the house and got his safe. We went to his house and said, he started telling me, "Listen, man, you can take whatever's in the safe." Blah blah. We didn't even know about the safe because we got him in the driveway. You got a safe? Let's get on the house. So he had a kilo of coke. Actually, it was 8 ounces, not a kilo, and like 30 grand cash, a pistol and a chain. We got all that stuff.
Yeah, but, I can tell you an interesting story about some teeth, man. That was my cousin was actually, that was his thing. He drove around with this dude's teeth in his ashtray for several months before he finally got busted. But you'd be surprised, man. You throw a pair of pliers at somebody and tell them to pull their own teeth out and shoot them in the foot, they become a dentist real fast.
Oh yeah, listen. I mean, people will do all these guys, these gangsters, these hard ass dope dealers, black dope dealers, and whatever. They turn straight bits the second you rack that shotgun and put it to their head. I mean, they'll freaking just like cowards. Some of them are crying, man. They would cry. Like,
I got
kids.
It's always the kids.
Calm down.
Every time I got kids, I got
kids.
The kids. Every time, yeah.
I'd say, listen, man, don't worry. You're gonna live to see another day if you do this right. If you don't, you won't live to see another day, and the game is over. What I'm about to get you for, you can get back. But if you make one wrong move, do one wrong thing,
you're gone.
I'm gonna blow your effing head off, and that's the game over. So anyway, that's what I was doing. And at some point at the end, I mean, I needed it's funny because nobody knew how I was cut. Well, like some of my cousins and uncles knew I was doing crap like that. But like friends that I knew from the neighborhood and stuff, they had no idea what a freaking lunatic renegade I was. And I remember not even my girlfriend, who I'd been with for 13 years, she didn't even know. She knew something was up, but didn't know what. And because I still look good, I wore a shirt and tie every day, and I had that good job working for that company. I was a sales rep for this company, making a ton of money. And I only worked like 4 hours a day, and was as a rep in the street. I go to these appointments, close a deal, make $500, $800, $1,000. Then I'm picking up money here, doing this, doing that, numbers and rackets and loan shark and all this crap that I was doing. I was in the street all the time making 120,000 legit on the books, 1099, so I'm not paying taxes, plus another 100,000 in the street at least. So I have all this money, but I'm spending it all. My habit, bro, was like $1,500 a week just for my habit. So then all my bills and my like houses and all that, it finally got to the point where I know, like, my girl said, we split the bills. We always split the bills. Even if I had more money, I'd say, here, I'll pay the bills this month. She wouldn't take it. She was a good girl. She's like, nope, I just need half. So the day came, she says, I need, now I need half. And I had been on a freaking crime spree, bro, for like 3 days. I was out there. Like one night I didn't even come home, which is the first time that ever happened. I was out robbing dope dealers in the middle of the night. Terrible story I'm not proud of, but just kind of a crazy story. I remember in the middle of the night, I had a Bronco and a Suzuki Grand Catera and a Jeep, and I had the Bronco out. I went to this place, this drive-through like Tim Hortons place, but at the middle of the night, right off 8 Mile. And I walk in there and said, I want a sandwich and a soup. And through the window, I say that. And she says, okay, gets it, and goes to hand it through the window to me. I take it, I go to hand her a $100 bill. She says, I can't break the $100 bill. So come out. Why not? She's like, I don't have change, blah, blah, blah. So I drive down to the gas station, get change, come back. I don't get change. The gas station won't break my $100. So I come back to this chick again. Just take the freaking $100 and break it. She's like, I can't. I don't have change. I pulled out a pistol, shoved it through the window. I said, give me my effing sandwich in my freaking. She starts screaming, oh, no. Here's the money. I'm like, I don't want the freaking money. I want my sandwich, my soup. That's how out there I was. You know what I'm saying? So I was told my girl I was going to the bank to get my half of the bill money. And I mean, I had been on a horrible crime spree, man. I had robbed like 5 different places, jacked somebody for the car. And anyway, I told her I was going to get the bill money, and I went to a bank. I robbed the bank, and there's more to it than that, though. There was like an insider in the bank. I was kind of extorting the dude to get. And his mother worked in the bank as the manager of the bank, and he said on Saturdays, pretty sure it was Saturday, that they did the corporate payroll cash, whatever. So there was supposed to be a couple $100,000 there on that morning. So that was the plan all along. So I went there. And I basically walked in there, put a fake bomb in the place, then went and called the whole plan. The kid was in on it, the kid. Well, he tipped the mom, said he's squeezing me to do this. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. So now she calls the cops, and I don't know it. I think the play is going. There's a fake bomb in there. I call and say, bring the money out, walk to your car, drive down the street behind the freaking this liquor store, dump the bag, go back. If you make one wrong move, I'm going to blow this freaking bank and kill everybody in it. She's like, no, please. No. Well, she did it. Everything worked out great until and I go to take off. Freaking cops everywhere. Got in a high-speed chase and ended up crashing in Detroit and got beat down, which I hate to make it sound racist, but 6 black cops beat my ass for 5 minutes after I was cuffed, all of them yelling, why don't you shoot, white boy? Why don't you shoot? There's a pistol whipping me. Crap. Beat my ass so bad that I had to go straight to the emergency room to get stitched up and have a full body CAT scan. I was so busted and bruised up. And anyways, that was the end of my run. After that, I was charged with 17 capital crimes, everything from extortion and bank robbery to armed robbery, weapons violation, on and on and on, for the crime spree and among other things. And they had been after me a while. When like the sergeant came back there, captain, he's like, man, you're a big deal. I'm like, why? What are you talking about? He's like, well, everybody's out there trying to take jurisdiction. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the feds are out there, ATF is out there, 2 different counties, the sheriff. They all want to take jurisdiction. I'm like, he's like, you're going to be in the front page of the news tomorrow. You know that. I'm just like, I'm dope sick. So I ended up puking. The feds walked in there and asked me if I want to cooperate. And he's, because he's like, I know who you are. I know your families, know your uncles. I can make this go away. I can make it all go away. You want it to go away? He's like, you want to help yourself out? I'm like, you got the wrong guy. That ain't me. And at that point, it was so overwhelming that I puked. I leaned over and just like, I puked. And I remember like splashed and hit the feds guy's foot and like scraped it off his foot on the table. And he gives me his card. He said, you change your mind, give me a call. And I took the card and flung it back at him. I guarantee you I ain't going to be changing my mind. So whatever. And then they put me away. And that was the point in my life where, I ended up in the hole for 17 months. It's kind of where it gets more interesting in the good part. I ended up smashing this little kid. This kid stole something from my box. Little black kid went in my box when I was at church and stole 2 pies. I found out who it was and just demolished him. 1 punch, shattered his whole eye socket. I had to pay restitution for it, all that. But I ended up in the hole for that for 30 days. But while I was in the hole, I got into it with the cops. And they made me what's called a level 9. I don't know what that means, but what it really means is that you never leave the hole. If you're in that jail, the county jail, you stay in the hole permanently. So that's what I was in this for 17 months while I was fighting my cases in other counties too. I sat in the hole, and I started reading a lot of books. I was already a reader. I like to read. I loved reading. So I was reading all these books, and what I came to find out is that these books that I'm reading are not that great. They're like by great writers like John Grisham and Sidney Sheldon and all these people. I'm like, they're good, they're okay, they can be better. And I started laying there on my bunk for hours and hours and hours, began to create stories about books that were similar to what I was reading or whatever. And then before you know it, I created the basic premise for my first 3 novels. So when I got to prison after 18 months, I started writing immediately. And I wrote my first novel, which is a contemporary sports themed book about these two best friends who play high school football, and the colleges want the one guy, but they want the other guy. Well, the one guy they want says, "I'm not going to any school unless you give him a scholarship too." And at first they didn't want to do it, but eventually University of Miami says, "Okay, we will." And he's kind of a charming, charismatic character. He's a big, tough guy, middle linebacker, or whatever. Well, he ends up beating the guy up in a fight and accidentally kills him. But it's not really, you find out later on, it wasn't even his fault that the guy died. Well, he ends up in prison. He gets like 16 years in prison for manslaughter. But his boy ends up going on to become a superstar, quarterback in Miami, and then gets drafted into the NFL. And his boy gets a lawyer to get him out on an appeal, and they find out that it really wasn't his fault, possibly that the other dude died. So anyway, the book's called Second Chance, and Chance Enzo is the name of the character. He's the main character, Chance Enzo. So it's called Second Chance. That was my first book. I grinded it out. It took me a year to write it, and then I went back and polished it up, started another book, and then another book, and then another book, and another. And over my 13-year bit, while everybody was in the day room telling war stories or getting high, getting drunk, whatever in the yard, I was there. I eventually got a typewriter, and it was just sitting there grinding, man. I have a GED, and people say that I had a Fortune 200 CEO named Matt Simoncini. He was the CEO of Lear Corporation. He read both of my books on his private jet while he was in Europe. And then when he got back, he tracked me down and asked me to lunch. I met him for lunch, and I sat down, and he shook my hand. He said, "Gunnar, you're the best writer in the world nobody knows about." And I said, "Thank you, sir. I'm working on that. Nobody gave me the blueprint on how to be, world famous best-selling author. I'm just learning as I go." And he said, I couldn't put those books down. There are 1,100 pages between the two volumes. And he's like, I read them in 3 days. He's like, I couldn't put them down. I canceled board meetings. He was in Europe for business. He's like, I'm canceling meetings because I'm in this book so deep that I can't stop. He's like, incredible. So, as I was writing these books, and people were reading them in prison, and they're just like, they're saying the same thing. It's having the same effect, and people are like, wow, dude, you're next level. So I had taught myself like some kind of savant how to write. I had the basic grasp of syntax, grammar, and spelling, but I think it came so natural. You see a singer. Some singers have incredible voices, and no one's ever taught them how to sing. They just know how to sing, right? Some athletes do it. Like there's a 16-year-old kid out there right now who's got a 103-mile-an-hour fastball. He didn't train for that. He just natural. It's what he does. And with me sitting down and writing became so natural that you knew it was a gift. It was a rare gift of an art form, and I got better at it as I went. I really polished it and kind of mastered it as I went. I got better. In the beginning, it was rough, but it was good stories. The stories were great. It's just the writing itself evolved into something that is, what can now be classified as a world class or classified as, as well written as any bestseller. As far as just writing those, but my stories, I'll argue, and all my readers will argue that the stories that I write are far better than 99% of the bestsellers. And if you don't believe it, check the reviews of my novels on Amazon. They're perfect 5-star reviews, a lot of them, and you can read them and see what people are saying. So that's what I did in prison. So that's kind of how I turned it around, and I stayed out of trouble. I didn't,
Do you think the writing is what like helped you like change it around? Like something, you knew you were doing something positive. You knew you were doing something that would possibly lead to something bigger for yourself in life. The whole crime scene and just a bunch of bullshit, but you can actually write about your experience and also is to be a king. Your story is, low key, is that kind of like basically you in a nutshell, but not you?
No, it's not me. It's far bigger, far more grandiose, far more complex than me. There are characters in the book that are loosely based on characters from my life. There is a certain level of omnio falcone. Like I said, omnio is a Latin word for king. And why the book's called To Be a King. This main character's name is Omnio. A lot of people relate. So, my wife hates it, but a lot of women think I'm the main character and they kind of stalk me. And I'm like, I always say this. I said, no, Omnio's way better looking and way smarter than I am. But he's you know, there's certain elements like he's DeFeto, which means half Sicilian, like I am. His grandfather is the boss of the Detroit Mafia. My grandfather was not, but in my mind, you know, growing up, he was kind of the boss of the family. And so there are parallels. But I wrote those books, yes, knowing that they would change my life. And bro, I can't even begin to tell you how they've changed my life. But I guess I'll try. I mean, I knew I was onto something when I wrote them stories. They came out so good that, and people were just going nuts for them in the joint. Guys were lined up. I had a waiting list. The whole prison, my whole prison bit, I had a waiting list for guys trying to get to my book, waiting like 30 people in the units. But and so I knew this is something that could be life-changing. It's going to be life-changing. I knew it was going to change my life and offer opportunities and put me in a opportunity to get in a position where down the road something really big and great can happen to me, and really did. It introduced and brought me to my wife. I've been on Fox News. To just today, I had a 30-minute call with Eric Shawn. He's one of the biggest news broadcasters in the world. Fox News National, New York City, he's an anchor. 40 million viewers. The guy's huge. Calls me out of the blue. He's doing a special about Hoffa. He wants me to be on his next show, and I'm like, shit, I'm happy. But I mean, yeah, so it all happened because of my books. You know, my books are what opened up the doors. My wife saw that I was a writer on Facebook. I didn't even know her, but she went to my high school. So I was a writer. She worked for a publisher. So she kind of reached out to me through Facebook while I'm in prison with 7 years left and says, hey, you know, you don't remember me probably, but, you know, I remember you vaguely. You're a bad guy, family's mom, blah, 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 blah. But maybe I can help you publish this book, or if it's any good. So she asked me to send it to her. I had a friend send her the book, and she was blown away. My wife read the 1,100-page manuscript on her phone over 3 days, absolutely obsessed with it, couldn't put it down, then wrote me back a JPay, prison JPay, and said, she called me the unicorn, man, is what she said. I'll never forget it. She said, in publishing, you have sometimes really good writers, but the stories usually are average at best. And then sometimes you have a really great story, but the writing's not that good. And then every once in a while, you have a unicorn. She's like, you're the unicorn. So she starts writing me.
It's awesome.
And we start, yeah, no, amazing. God works in mysterious ways. She starts writing me, and we're interacting, and we fell in love through like 1,000 pages of love letters, like literally 1,000 pages. I put my 7th novel on hold. I was 800 pages into this book, huge book, my Atlas Shrugged book. It was huge. It was about this called The Lion Chaser, this young billionaire. But anyways, I put it aside just to write her for a year, and we just fell in love, and she committed to me. She finally said, listen, I've fallen for you. I think you have an incredible mind. I think you're an incredible man that's been overlooked. And she's like, I think you're incredible, and I want to be with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to wait these next 6 years for you. Where do you want me to wait? I'll go anywhere you want me to go. I told her, go up to Michigan, in northern Michigan, way up in the woods. I want to live out in the woods, away from everybody. I love fishing. I love hunting. I love four-wheeling. I love the outdoors. Are you okay with that? She says, I love everything. She's like, I love the same thing. I love the outdoors. I'm like, so you're cool with going to live out in the middle of nowhere for the next 6 years? She nods, says, yeah, I am. So she went and lived out in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, 5 hours north of Detroit, for 6 years, and waited for me. So that's what I mean by life changing. The book altered the course of my life right there. That book, she fell in love with me because she said, and I wanted the man that wrote that story because it was so endearing, so it connected to her on such an emotional level. She's like, the mind behind that, it's a very complex plot, and a lot of twists, and it blows your mind at the end. It blows your mind. You think you got it solved, but you're not even close. And she's just like, you know, I want to be with you. So that, and then since I gotten out, I mean, I've been on Fox News. I've been in the Huffington Post. I've had a lot of articles written about me. I'm friends with some pretty big actors, and all these different people have come at me, and opportunities arise. I ended up starting a clothing line called Our Thing Apparel. And so, I mean, them books changed my life, those books. And I knew they were going to do that. So that's the reason why I didn't play the yard in the joint. And they were what kept me from smashing somebody's head in every day. Because, you know, that's one thing I gotta emphasize. In the street, I was like one of the worst people you could imagine. I wasn't a sadistic person who would like hurt people for fun, but I was somebody who would hurt people for money. And I got paid to hurt people for money. and I would do it and not even blink. I mean, I would smash a guy to pulverize him and then go eat a sandwich and go to bed. I mean, it was nothing for me to do that. I would rob, people, and it was nothing for me to just literally rob a dude and then put the money in my pocket and go right to the club, hang out with my boys and Max and Chick, not even think of it. So
what do you do now? Like, yeah, what do you do now in order to like keep that impulse at bay?
Well, in prison, again, my books and my future are what had me focus on not doing that. And like, I'm like, I know I can be something. Really, we all have gifts and talents. That's the thing. If you recognize that you have a gift and a talent that's special and has a lot of value to the world and people around you, don't waste it. Don't lose it. Focus on that gift and utilize it. And in prison, man, I wanted to pulverize these freaking clowns every day. And I was a violent dude. They're talking about a guy who I couldn't even tell you how many fights I've been in, people I've heard. So in prison, I got some ignorant, like disrespectful punk ass whatever who says something sideways, to me. And I'm just like, man, I want to demolish him. But then I go to the hole. Then I lose what I got going. Then what? Maybe I get a flop from the parole board because they see me as this violent. They called me a career criminal. I got in front of the parole board. They looked at it and went, dude, you're a career criminal. I'm like, no, I'm not.
So how many? So 13 years you did. Like, what was the sentence? Because I know they didn't sentence you to 13 years. How many years did they sentence you to?
13 to 50.
13 to 50.
Yep.
So
I did 13.
In essence, you got 50 years.
13.3.
In essence, you got a 50-year sentence.
I got a 50-year tail, but yeah, 13 to 50. If I would have messed up, they could have kept me there for up to 50 years. And that's the reason why I couldn't mess up. They look at a guy like me, a kind of high-profile criminal. They said I was a career criminal, the parole board, and which I don't think I was, because I had a 10-year span between felony convictions at one point.
So do you still have to deal with parole and everything?
No, I'm off parole. I got out, walked it down 2 years. I'm done. I'm good. I've been great. So what I did is I got out, and I'm gonna be honest, man. If you ask God to change your heart and really believe it, doesn't matter. See, the people who don't believe in God, they won't understand. But the people who do believe in God and they say, hey, listen, God, I'm tired of being that guy, man. I don't want to be that guy anymore. Please, I'm asking you in Jesus' name, take it away. And dude, it's like just the veil is lifted off you. You ain't that guy no more. So now I don't even curse. I'm the kind of guy that this is super chill, laid back. I love to meet people. I'm the most interactive person you ever meet. Random strangers, I'm always joking with and laughing and trying to make people laugh. And people do irritate me still. Like when I look on social media or get a troll on YouTube or whatever. I'm like, I don't have time for that, man. I don't have time to engage dumb. Because this guy's so freaking miserable, he wants to troll my YouTube and say something stupid. I'm sorry your life sucks. And you're mad that mine doesn't. But don't take it out on me. And that's it. Just keep moving, man. I just, too much to do. Dude, you know what I love? Fishing and hunting. And like, I live in the woods, man. And I love fishing. And if you go to my YouTube, you can see some of the videos of me catching fish and giant salmon and sharks and all kinds of crap. But I mean, I enjoy the outdoors, and that keeps me grounded. My wife loves the outdoors. If I want to relax, I jump on my four-wheeler, take a ride, go snowmobiling or whatever. So I really don't have the desire to be angry and hurt people anymore. It's not in me, man. It left me. I can't explain it. All I can say is I think God did that.
That's awesome, man. A spiritual compass is always a very important thing. Many of us, find it in various different avenues. Some people, can't understand the next path of the next person, but I'm the guy that respects everybody's spiritual path as long as you got one. I can't stand the person that says, I don't believe in anything. That shit just irritates me because, define to me what nothing is. You can't define what nothing is. You think you're just dead and everything goes blank. I've been in a near-death experience. I can tell you something happens, although I can't really describe it to you, but it's a sense of like letting go. It's a sense of like comfort and peace. But the spiritual compass and the spiritual grounding is very important regardless of what it is. I respect everybody's path as long as it's all about, not causing no harm to somebody And I mean, there's a lot of things. Is like somebody brings me harm, first instinct is to defend myself, and sometimes my defense is a lot more vicious than their attack, but the main
Yeah.
thing is not to deliberately go out there and seek to do anybody harm. And the mission that I am on today is all about teaching people how to become free thinkers and to break free from this group mindset. And I do it in a very sarcastic, arrogant way. They don't understand it, but far too many people have been mentally coddled in this country to where, somebody says something, you just automatically right away, you have to agree with them, you have to respect them because you don't want to ruffle any feathers,
Oh, yeah, they'll report you.
Yeah, so I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the show and everything, man. You have a very interesting story. I want to get you back on here again. I'm getting ready to go live right now. I bet you my PBR car is pretty mad that I didn't show up at 8:30, but sometimes you gotta. What's that?
Well, I was gonna say, let's plan another show because there are some things that I'd like to talk to you about, like not just my transition and spiritually, is another thing that I like to talk about. How, like, I'm an intelligent dude. I use logic and facts and things like that to kind of, when somebody they're an atheist or agnostic or something, I'll sit down and say, listen, man, here are some facts, and here are if you can use critical thinking and logic, put the facts together, and you make your own conclusion. I can usually get people to understand this. And not only that, but dude, I've experienced like literal miracles, bro. Dude, the fact that I went through 13 years in prison without a single attack or fight or nothing, this freaking guy, is a miracle in itself. But
I could tell you about one miracle in particular. I would much rather tell you that one-on-one in person because the whole world don't need to know about it. But
right, well, you can save it for a phone call.
Hey, I've had quite a bit of them myself, and I got to tell you that my life, despite the circumstances and the odds that were against me, I was expected to fail. And if I didn't have a spiritual compass, if I didn't have that spiritual foundation and believe in myself and basically draw that in through magnetism, the way that, like, I understand God, the way I do it, I mean, people have a lot of negative outlooks on what I believe, but hey, you know what? I believe in a higher power. I believe in a God. I'm always the guy that tells people anytime that I come across them, I'm like, dude, just find some kind of spiritual foundation. And as long as it is good, and as long as it's about being a better person to humanity, then follow that path. If it's Islam, if it's Buddhism, it's Judaism, it's Catholicism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism. If you're into Native American, tribal religion, spirituality, do it, man. As long as your intention is all about being better to humanity, because we have too many people that are at each other's throats because of a difference of opinion and a disagreement. Others people want to judge each other according to their beliefs, and that's the problem that we're in today. The thing that
I let God do it. Let God work it out. So if somebody doesn't believe,
it's all up to God, man.
Exactly. I believe a certain set of core beliefs, right? I'm not going to force them on you. I know where I'm going based on mine. And like you said, you can believe whatever you want, even if yours are wrong, but you believe there's that God. Not saying they are. I'm just saying that means you already belong to God. The day will come, he'll open your eyes. The day will come and say, this is what I want you to see. He's God of the universe. He created everything. You don't think he can open your heart or open this guy's heart or open the eyes of that person? Whenever he wants, just like that, boom. So I leave it to him. I don't force it on anybody. This is my faith. I've seen miracles. I could tell you about miracles. Maybe on the next show, I'll tell you about one. It's very incredible miracle, and it's proof that I can prove that God did something. People will say, well, he could be lying about that. I mean, you can believe it's a lie if you want, but the fact is it's real. So how do you explain it?
And, not a question of what somebody else believes. It's a question of what you know. And that's the thing. Like I said, you become a free thinker. You separate yourself. You unplug yourself from the matrix and the herd mentality, and you become an objective individual. You start to see the world through a much different lens. But I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and
Short-
close this out, my brother. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Well, to say on the next show, man, there's a few different things we can talk about. Not only just like from a prison regard, but how to kind of reform yourself and your mindset and your thinking. How you can turn yourself around, and then you know, and even we can discuss a few of these kind of hot topics and current events and things, and how they relate to all of us, but especially us guys. You know, we're fresh out, and so I think that would be you know, a cool show for us.
Absolutely, man. We're gonna get you back on here on Sunday, right? Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm down.
Awesome. Well, I'm not gonna close the show out in typical Prison Break Raw fashion because you are a spiritual man that doesn't use profanity, and my closeout is quite crude. So I won't run you through that. But what
I
I
appreciate
basically
that.
will say is, seek and ye shall find. Look and open your eyes. Know thyself. Judge not, for thee shall be judged the same. These are all the principles that I run off of. Maybe some people should take some notes and learn from a man like this guy right here. He's a much bigger man than I am for not being able to use all the choice, tasteless words that I like to use every single day. So my hat is off to you on that one, brother. We will have you on again. Please feel free to join us tonight in the PBR car live. I would love to introduce you to my fam.
I'll do that.
All right. God bless you, brother, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Take care.